Hi, so in this video we're going to talk a little bit about inline elements. So inline elements, if you go to the Mozilla documentation, it really talks about elements that don't require their own line, right? So for example, when you have a paragraph, right, every time you put a new paragraph, there's going to be a new line that's going to be created, right? So here's a paragraph. If I were to create another paragraph, it would show up below, right? So all of those are what's called inline. I'm sorry, block level. Inline, however, are elements that live within a block, right? So if you look over here, you see this little element right here? This is an example of an inline element, right? As is this little icon, right? These live within the confines of a block, right? Okay, so if you go to the documentation for inline elements and you go all the way to the bottom, you're going to see a bunch of different types of inline elements. The ones that we're going to really focus on is just a subset of these. And we're going to get deeper into some of these others as well. Specifically the forms, we're going to have a whole separate video regarding those. But the ones that we're going to focus on right now are these. And we'll go through them one by one. So to start off, what you want to do is you want to have a clean HTML file. So your name .html. You want to make sure you have that .html. Then you want to start creating your HTML page. So HTML, you have your head, right? And you have your body, right? Your head's going to have your title, right? And this could be, we'll call this inline examples, right? And in your body, let's just start off by, let's see what we have here. Okay, so we have a few different things. So a lot of these that you'll notice, the A tag, the B, the I, these are tags that are typically used within, say, something like a paragraph, right? So we're going to be affecting like words. So let's just say that we can do lorem here and press tab, and that's going to create a nice little block of text for us. Let's create a paragraph tag, right? So this is a block level element that we're going to create. Okay, and now this is our starting point. Let's go to our browser and refresh, and it's showing up great. Okay, awesome. So the first thing we're going to work with is, let's start off with the B, the strong, the I, and the EM. Okay, so let's do that. So the way this would work is, let's just say, for example, I wanted this word here to be bold. The way to do that is you would just create a B tag and surround it just like that, right? So now this, I'm stating that this here is going to be bold, and if I refresh, then it's bold, right? Now let's say, for example, if I want this one here to be italics, right? So I just write I, and then same thing. Go here. If I want multiple words, just the whole thing. Now that is italics, right? Refresh, and now if you look in there, right there, this is italicized. Okay, so that's cool. Let's just say if I wanted to make, just say the bold had two words, and I wanted one of those words to be bold and italics. So if you do this, this all works in nesting, right? So I could just grab this I and put this around this EST. Okay, there we go. So it's just wrappy, a little weird. But so now I said, make this word here italicized. However, it sits inside of a bold, right? So now, if I were to refresh this, you'll notice that this here is bold, but this one next to it is bold and italics, right? So that's how you use bold and italics. Now, what does EM and strong mean? Let's take a look. So here, we'll say right here, this word here, we're going to make this strong, right? So we'll make lorem ipsum is going to be strong, and we're going to make these last ones here EM. And what EM stands for is emphasis, right? Let's see what happens when we refresh this. Now, if you notice, strong and bold look identically the same, as do italics and emphasis. They look exactly the same. So we're going to talk about this stuff a little bit more when we get into accessibility, but that's typically, that is the reason why you would do things like this. It's called semantic markup, right? And what that means is because this is strong, that means something in a semantic way compared to something being bold. And what I mean by that is when a screen reader starts to read this, the screen reader is going to know that this word is strong, right? So it would actually actually say it in a sort of strong manner, right? For example, or for emphasis, the same thing. Like if it's reading a piece of text and it says something like, you know, the the words on this story are very interesting. Like you want to put emphasis on like interesting. So you would actually add emphasis tags around that, and the screen reader would know to treat that in an audio style with emphasis, right? So that's one of the reasons for something like that. And same thing with strong. But they visually they look exactly the same. And if you want to get more information on that, I'm sure you could go in here and go to, say, we'll find one of these. We'll say strong, right? And I'm sure it'll probably talk a little bit about that. And here we go. So here's bold versus strong. You'll get a little bit of the background on why you would use one over the other. Okay, so that's that. Now, if you go to let's go to image. Okay, so image. If I want to add an image here, let's just add it. So the way images work is you write it's img, right? And when you press tab, it's going to give you these two additional, this is what's called attributes. So all of these tags have attributes associated to them. However, image has required attributes, which is why these are showing up when you press tab, right? So in order for an image to show up, I need to give it a source. Like I need to tell it where this image is going to come from, right? I have to point it to the image. Alt, this is also for screen readers. This is what happens if I'm blind, right? And there's an image there, and there's an image of, let's say, a chart or something like that. Like I need a way to be able to know what this image is about. So the screen reader is going to have to look at the image and say, like, okay, is there any information that this image could give me that I could share with the person that's watching? And we're going to get more into this when we talk about accessibility as well. But we'll just say, for now, we're going to say this is called, this is going to be a placer image, right? Because I'm just going to add a placer image in there. I'm going to go to this website over here, which is placeimg.com. And you can just basically create, this is a cool place just to create just quick placer images. So, 500 by 400 image, and I want it to be about architecture, right? I don't want to spend too much time hunting for stuff, but that, I just know this is a good size for me. And I just paste that URL there, and I'll save it. And then when I refresh, there you go. I have my image, right? So now I have text. We've done bold. We've done italic. We've done an image, right? And now we are going to do, what else do we have here? A. Okay, so what is A? A is an anchor link, right? So if I want to go somewhere, let's just say in here, it says google.com, right? And I want to actually link to Google. When someone clicks on it, I want them to go to it, right? So if you go to A, you'll notice this also has a required attribute, right? Because it's a link, so it needs to link to somewhere. So in order to do that, there's two things to keep in mind, right? You can link to a place that's in your in your directory. So if I had, let's just create a new, sorry, create a new file, and I'm going to call it, file save. I'm going to call this link.html, right? And in here, we're going to do the same thing, HTML, head, right, body, right? And this is hello, I am link, right? We can link to this, right? So this is an internal link, right? However, we can also go to an external link, meaning like another website. For example, Google. So when we want to go to Google, we have to start off by saying http// just like you see when you go to, any website. It's going to have that HTTP right here. So this is HTTPS. So it'll be HTTPS or HTTP. We need this whole area. And that's how the link is going to know this is not something that's internal. This is something that's external. And we'll just say google.com, right? Now, if I save this and I were to test it, you'll see there's a link. Now I can click on this and it goes to Google, right? There's some additional things here that you can definitely look at. I strongly recommend that you go and look at your A tag, because there is a various things that you'd want to think about here. And if you go in here, so here, this is, for example, one important part here is target. And this is going to tell me, like, if you notice when I click on this, it completely got rid of my window. So it opened Google in the same window, so now I lost my page. You might want to open this somewhere else, right? And then to do that, you would say target equals, and then look at your stuff here, and you have self, blank, parent, top. If I wanted to open it up in a, so load a URL into a new browsing context, then you would say blank, right? And now when I test this, and I click, you notice it just opened up a new browser window, and I still have my old, right? So sometimes when you do external links, you might want to do that. Okay, so let's do an internal link. So we're going to go here, just say my link, right? We'll say my internal link. Right here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go A. We're going to surround the area that I want to be linked, which is these three words. I want those to have that underline, right? And here, because this is it's an internal link, you don't need to write HTTP, right? All you need to do is say link.html, right? And this is basically the directory or where I could find link.html, right? So if I go into my folder, link.html is right there, right next to it, okay? Now what happens, we're going to create a folder that's called page, right? And if you notice, before I do that, let's go over here and let's just test link.html. So my internal link, and there it is, hello, right? However, if I bring link and I put it into this little folder, now when I test this, let me refresh, I click my link, now it's not found, okay? And the reason it's not found is because I added it to this page. So if I want to be able to open this, then I have to go to page / right? And if you notice, what we're really doing is, if you look at how a lot of these websites are, you'll notice there's like these little slashes and things like that. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to find things, and that's how the web these could be looked at as sort of directories or folders in some way. It's not necessarily, it gets a little more complicated than that, but for the most part, that is a more simplistic way of thinking about it. Okay, the next part, what else do we got? We got links, we did span, okay, so span and, oh, button, we'll do button. Okay, so a button, I want to, let's create another p tag here. Or actually, let's just take this out of here. We're going to create a break, right? So a break tag is that. So that's going to skip a line, right? And then here, I'm just going to write a button, right? And I'm going to, the button's going to say hello, right? So now, there we go. So there's a button. Doesn't do anything, but we have a button. And we're gonna start rigging up this button later on. But for now, that's what we have. Okay, last one that I wanted to show you, and actually, you know what? I will show you that in my next video. We'll talk about span and divs in my next video. All right.